Yeah, warm welcome to all of you. I present this lecture mainly for third BSc chemistry students of our college. The presentation on the topic electrochemistry, that is in the syllabus of physical chemistry 2, syllabus of our university, Balidas University. As this presentation is based on syllabus, I want to read Balidas University syllabus related with this topic, electrochemistry. So unit 1, electrical conductance. 1.1, conductance in metal and in electrolytic solution, specific conductance and equivalent conductance. Arrhenius theory of electrolytic dissociation and its limitation. Weak and strong electrolyte according to Arrhenius theory. Oswald's dilution law, derivation, applications and limitation. 1.2, effect of dilution on equivalent conductance and specific conductance. Kohlrache's law and its applications. The elementary treatment of the Debye-Hückel-Onsager equation for strong electrolytes. Evidence for ionic atmosphere. 1.3, transport number and Kirchhoff's rule. Determination of transport number by Kirchhoff's method and moving boundary method. 1.4, application of conductance measurements. Determination of degree of dissociation of weak electrolytes. Determination of solubility product of sparingly soluble salt. Common ion effect and conductometric titrations. This slide shows a request to viewers. Other conductors and types of conductors. Substances which allow electric current to flow through them are conductors, and substances which do not allow electric current to flow through them are non-conductors or insulators. And conductors are of two types. One is electronic or metallic. Another one is electrolytic conductors. The difference between electronic or metallic and electrolytic conductors, that is discussed in the next slide. This slide shows differences between metallic and electrolytic conduction. In a metallic conduction, flow of electricity takes place without the decomposition of substance. But in electrolytic conduction, flow of electricity takes place by the decomposition of the substance. That is one difference. Another difference, in metallic conduction, current is carried by electrons and there is no chemical change. But in electrolytic conduction, current is carried by ions of electrolytes. And in metallic conduction, increase of temperature decreases the conductance. And in the case of electrolytic conduction, increase of temperature increases the conductance. And examples for metallic conduction, that is all metals, alloys, and alloys of iron, silver, etc. Example for substances for electrolytic conduction, that is all ionic salts like KCl, NaCl, silver nitrate, etc. Electrolytes and non-electrolytes. Electrolytes means substances whose aqueous solution conduct electricity are called electrolytes. For example, ionic salts like KCl, NaCl, silver nitrate, etc. And substances whose aqueous solution do not conduct electricity are called non-electrolytes. For example, urea, glucose, methanol, etc. Types of electrolytes, there are two types. One is strong electrolyte, another one is weak electrolyte. Strong electrolyte has a high degree of ionization, that is, the electrolytes are highly ionized in the solution. For example, HCl, sulfuric acid, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, KCl, NaCl, etc. And weak electrolytes are feebly ionized in the solution, that is, degree of dissociation of the weak electrolyte is low. For example, carbonic acid, acetic acid, ammonium hydroxide, etc. So strong electrolyte has a high degree of dissociation in the solution, and weak electrolyte has a low degree of dissociation. Conductance, and the symbol for conductance is C. Another term, resistance, and the symbol for resistance is R. Conductance means the ease with which current flows through the conductor, that is called conductance, and the opposite character is resistance. And the conductance and the resistance, these two are inversely related, that is, one is reciprocal of another, and that is C is equal to 1 by R, or R is equal to 1 by C. So by knowing resistance, we can easily calculate the conductance, or by knowing conductance, we can easily calculate resistance of the conductor. Specific resistance and specific conductance. Symbol for specific resistance rho, symbol for specific conductance, that is K. Resistance of a conductor is directly proportional to length of the conductor and inversely proportional to area of cross section. That is, R is directly proportional to L by A. That is, R is equal to rho into L by A, where rho is the proportionality constant, that is specific resistance. So here this equation, R is resistance, rho is specific resistance, L is length of the conductor, A is the area of cross section of the conductor. And the unit of resistance we know, that is ohm, and unit of length, that is centimeter, unit of area of cross section, that is centimeter square. So on simplifying this equation for rho, we get rho is equal to, that is specific resistance, rho is equal to R into A by L. R, that is resistance, again A area of cross section, L is the length of the conductor. So the unit of specific resistance, that is ohm centimeter. Now we can define the specific resistance. If L is equal to 1 centimeter and area of cross section, that is 1 centimeter square, then rho is equal to R. So we can define specific resistance, that is resistance of the conductor of unit length and unit area of cross section. So these are about specific resistance, and the specific resistance that is related to specific conductance, that is by inverse of one is the inverse of another, that is k and rho, these are inversely related, that is specific resistance is equal to 1 by specific conductance, or specific conductance is equal to 1 by specific resistance. So k is equal to 1 by rho, so k is equal to, on substituting the equation for specific resistance, so the equation becomes, that is K is equal to 1 by R into A by L in the denominator. So that is equal to 1 by R into L by A, 1 by R, that is C, that is equal to C into L by A. C is the conductance, L is the length of the conductor, A is the area of cross section. And the unit of specific conductance, that is mhos per centimeter, because the conductance as a unit mhos and the length as a unit of centimeter and area of cross section as a unit of centimeter square. On cancelling 1 centimeter from numerator and 1 centimeter in the denominator, we get mhos per centimeter, that is a unit of specific conductance. Now how will we define specific conductance? Specific conductance is a conductance of a conductor of unit length and unit area of cross section. That is, if L is equal to 1 centimeter and A is equal to 1 square centimeter, then K is equal to C. That is simply, that is conductance of the conductor of unit length and the unit area of cross section. That is specific conductance. Equivalent conductance and molar conductance. Equivalent conductance is the conductance given by 1 gram equivalent weight of the substance. If V is volume containing 1 gram equivalent weight of the substance, then equivalent conductance, that is lambda, is equal to K into V, where V is the volume containing 1 gram equivalent weight of the substance. Now the V is otherwise given as 1000 divided by normality of the solution. So lambda is equal to K into 1000 divided by normality of solution, that is equivalent conductance. That is equivalent conductance is the conductance given by 1 gram equivalent weight of the substance, and the symbol for equivalent conductance, that is lambda, and the equation for equivalent conductance lambda is equal to K into 1000 by normality, that is K is specific conductance and the normality of solution, and substituting normality we get the equivalent conductance of the solution. Another term, molar conductance. Molar conductance is the conductance given by 1 gram molecular weight of the substance. If V is volume containing 1 gram molecular weight of the substance, then molar conductance mu is equal to K into V, where V is the volume containing 1 gram molecular weight of the substance, and here V is given by 1000 divided by molarity. So molar conductance, that is mu is equal to K into 1000 divided by molarity. So and by simply substituting molarity of the solution, this equation, and specific conductance of the solution, we can simply calculate equivalent conductance of the molar conductance of the solution. Next topic, variation of specific conductivity with dilution. In general, on dilution, conductivity increases, but specific conductivity decreases. Specific conductivity decreases on dilution, that is due to decrease of number of ions in unit volume, that is in one number. So specific conductivity decreases with the increase of dilution. This slide shows variation of equivalent and molar conductivities with the concentration. In general, equivalent conductance and molar conductance decreases with the increase of concentration. In other words, with the increase of dilution, equivalent and molar conductance value increases. For strong electrolytes, the equivalent and molar conductivity decreases slightly with concentration. But for weak electrolytes, equivalent and molar conductivity value is small at moderate concentration and the value is high at very low concentrations. This is because at the low concentrations, the proportion of dissociated molecules is high. All these are shown in this graph, and in the case of strong electrolytes, equivalent and molar conductivity value decreases slightly with increasing concentration, but for weak electrolytes, the equivalent molar conductivity value is high at very low concentrations. All these are shown in the graph. This slide shows variation of equivalent conductivity versus root concentration for various electrolytes like strong electrolyte HCl, sulfuric acid, KCl, sodium sulfate, and weak electrolyte acetic acid. Next topic, determination of equivalent conductivity of a solution using modified Wheatstone bridge. Here the modified Wheatstone bridge, which consists of a wire AB and the solution whose conductance is to be determined is taken in a 100 ml beaker, and the conductive cell is dipped in the solution and connected as shown in the figure. That is, in A side, resistance box is attached, and in B side, the conductive cell is connected. At the center of two connections, that is no resistance box and conductive cell connection, a galvanometer at the center, a galvanometer is connected and with a jacky, and the jacky can be moved along the wire AB. On completing electrical circuit as shown in the figure, the jacky is moved along the wire AB, and the point at which null reading in the galvanometer is noted, that at this point BJ. Now from the length of the wire AB, the value of AJ and BJ can easily we can determine the values AJ and BJ. Suppose if the wire AB length is 100 centimeter and if the value of AJ is 65, then BJ is 35. And if the value of AJ is 30 and the value of BJ is 70, this way we can determine the value of AJ and BJ. And by knowing the resistance or non-resistance, we can simply calculate the resistance of the solution using the equation known resistance divided by unknown resistance, that is equal to AJ by BJ. By knowing known resistance and AJ value, BJ value, we can simply calculate the unknown resistance, that is the resistance of the solution, that is Rx. Now Rx is equal to R into BJ divided by AJ. And from the resistance, the conductance of the solution is calculated by taking inverse of the resistance. From the observed conductance of the solution, specific conductance of the solution is calculated using the formula K is equal to C into L by A, where C is the conductance of the solution, L by A, that is cell constant of the conductivity cell. If cell constant is not known, using 0.1 N KCl, the cell constant value is determined. The determination of cell constant that is explained in the next slide. And from the specific conductance of the solution, equivalent conductance of the solution is calculated using the formula lambda is equal to k into 1000 by normality, and by simply substituting the value of specific conductance and normality of the solution in this expression, we can calculate the equivalent conductance lambda of the solution. In this way, the equivalent conductance of the solution, unknown solution, is determined by make use of modified Wheatstone bridge. Now this slide shows what is cell constant and its determination. Now conductance of a solution is determined by using a cell which consists of two planes with area of cross section A square centimeter and separated by L centimeter. Now the value of L by A, that is length divided by area of cross section, that is L by A, that is cell constant of the conductivity cell. Each cell has its own cell constant value. Next one is determination of cell constant using 0.1 normality KCl solution. So by taking 0.1 normality KCl solution in 100 ml beaker, and the conductivity cell is dipped in the solution, and the conductivity of 0.1 KCl is measured using modified Wheatstone bridge, and from the conductance the value of cell constant is calculated using the formula cell constant is equal to specific conductance divided by observed conductance. Here the solution taken is 0.1 KCl, therefore cell constant is equal to specific conductance of 0.1 KCl divided by observed conductance of 0.1 KCl. And by knowing the specific conductance of 0.1 KCl as 0.01412 moles per centimeter, and by substituting the specific conductance value and the observed conductance of 0.1 KCl, we can simply calculate the cell constant, that is cell constant is equal to 0.01412 divided by observed conductance of 0.1 KCl. Next topic, Arrhenius theory of electrolytic dissociation. Arrhenius explained certain postulates for electrolytic dissociation, and the postulates are simply Arrhenius theory or postulates of Arrhenius theory. So what are the postulates? One postulate, when an electrolyte is dissolved in water, it is dissociated into ions. That is, if AB, the molecule, if it is dissolved in water, it is dissociated into A plus and B minus. Similarly, NaCl is dissociated into Na plus and Cl minus. KCl is dissociated into K plus and Cl minus. That is one postulate of Arrhenius theory. Another postulate, the extent of dissociation is given by the term degree of dissociation, and the symbol for degree of dissociation is alpha. Another postulate, if the alpha value increases with increase of dilution, and if alpha value is high, then the electrolyte is called as strong electrolyte, and strong example for strong electrolytes HCl, NaCl, silver nitrate, etc. And if the alpha value is low, then the electrolyte is called as weak electrolyte, like acetic acid, ammonium hydroxide, etc. At moderate concentration, there is an equilibrium between unionized molecule and ions. That is AB, that is unionized molecule, reversible arrow, ions A plus plus B minus. That is, there is an equilibrium between the molecule AB and the ions A plus and B minus. And another postulate, the ions produced on dissociation have the same colligative properties just like molecules. Just like molecules, the ions have the same colligative properties like lowering of vapor pressure, elevation boiling point, depression freezing point, and osmotic pressure. That is, just like molecules, the ions have the same colligative properties. These are the postulates of Arrhenius theory. This slide shows limitation of Arrhenius theory. One limitation, this theory does not tell about why ionization takes place. That is one limitation. Another one is this theory does not tell about the forces existing between the ions. That is another limitation. And the third one is Oswald's dilution law, which is based on this theory, is completely failed in the case of strong electrolytes. And strong electrolytes like KCl, NaCl, etc. conduct electricity even in the molten state. That is, they need not be dissolved in water for conductance. Even in the molten state, these electrolytes, KCl, NaCl, conduct electricity. So according to Arrhenius theory,
when an electrolyte dissolved in water, it is dissociated ions. But these electrolytes conduct electricity even in the molten state. So these are the limitations of Arrhenius theory. Next topic, Assos dilution law. According to Arrhenius theory, at moderate concentration, there is an equilibrium between unionized molecule AB and ions A plus and B minus. Oswald, scientists noted that the law of mass action can be applied to this equilibrium. Now consider a binary electrolyte AB which dissociates into A plus and B minus ions, and the equilibrium state is represented by the equation AB reversible arrow A plus B minus. Now let 1 mole of electrolyte AB is present in a container of volume V liters, and alpha be the fraction of this 1 mole which is dissociated into ions at equilibrium. At equilibrium, alpha be the fraction of this 1 mole which is dissociated into ions. You already seen the unionized molecule AB is in equilibrium with ions AB reversible arrow A plus B minus. And the number of moles of AB taken initially, that is 1 mole. So number of moles at initial stage, and the unionized molecule 1, and for A plus and B minus, that is number of moles at initial stage, that is 0. It is number of moles of AB at initial stage is 1 mole, and the initial number of moles of A plus and B minus, that is 0. So number of moles of AB after attaining equilibrium, after attaining equilibrium, that is at equilibrium, this number of moles of AB is 1 minus alpha, and the number of moles of A plus is alpha, number of moles of B minus is alpha. That is, alpha is a fraction of 1 mole, this 1 mole, which is dissociated into ions at equilibrium. So number of moles at equilibrium for unionized molecule 1 minus alpha and A plus alpha, B minus alpha. So on dividing these number of moles by total volume in liters, we get the equilibrium concentration. That is, equilibrium concentration of AB is 1 minus alpha by B, and equilibrium concentration of A plus, that is alpha by B, and equilibrium concentration of B minus is also alpha by B. So equilibrium constant K is equal to concentration of A plus and concentration of B minus divided by concentration of AB. This equilibrium constant means that is a ratio of concentration of product to that of reactants at equilibrium. So on substituting equilibrium concentrations of A plus, B minus and AB and simplifying this equation, we get the final equation K is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. Here 1 by V, that is equal to C, because number of moles of AB taken initially is 1 mole and total volume is V. So 1 by V, that is the initial concentration of AB. So K is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha, and here K is the dissociation constant of the electrolyte AB, and C is the initial concentration of the electrolyte AB. So this is this equation, K is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. That is the mathematical form of Oswald's dilution law. Now K is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. From this equation, the statement of Oswald's dilution law can be derived. So in the case of weak electrolyte, alpha is small and is negligible in compared with 1. So the equation, the right hand side, the denominator 1 minus alpha becomes 1 by neglecting the value alpha, because alpha is very small. So the equation becomes K is equal to C alpha square. Alpha square is equal to K by C. Alpha is equal to K by C whole power 1 by 2, and that is alpha value, that is degree of dissociation, is proportional to 1 by root concentration. That is, the degree of dissociation alpha is inversely proportional to concentration C. In other words, the degree of dissociation is directly proportional to dilution. That is, on increasing dilution, degree of dissociation increases. So this is a statement of Oswald's dilution law.
Limitation of Oswald's dilution law. The law, Oswald's dilution law, is applicable to only for weak electrolytes and failed completely in the case of strong electrolyte. The value of alpha, degree of dissociation, is determined by conducted measurements by applying the formula lambda by lambda infinitive. that is lambda C by lambda 0, where lambda is equivalent conductivity at a given dilution and the lambda infinitive, that is equivalent conductivity at infinite dilution. Now the value of alpha is determined at various concentration, that is at various dilution of an electrolyte, and when substituted the alpha value and concentration term value in the equation K is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha, that K, that is dissociation constant, that value, that gives a constant value of K only in the case of weak electrolytes like acetic acid, ammonium hydroxide, etc., and not for strong electrolytes like ACl, NaCl, etc. That is the limitation of Oswald's dilution law. Next topic, Kohlrach's law. The Kohlrach's law, that is at infinite dilution, each ion, positive ion and negative ion, makes a definite contribution towards the equivalent conductance. That is, lambda infinitive is equal to lambda A plus lambda C. Here lambda infinitive means that is equivalent conductance of the electrolyte at infinite dilution, and lambda A, that is conductance given by anion, and lambda C, that is conductance given by cation at infinite dilution. That is this equation may otherwise lambda 0 is equal to lambda 0 plus lambda 0 minus, and lambda 0, that is the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution, that is 0th concentration, and that is equal to sum of conductance given by positive ion and negative ion at infinite dilution, that is Kohlrach's law. Next topic, applications of Kohlrach's law. There are a number of applications of Kohlrach's law. One application is calculation of equivalent conductance of weak electrolytes like acetic acid, ammonium hydroxide, etc. at infinite dilution. It is impossible to determine the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution for weak electrolytes experimentally, because on plotting lambda versus root C, that graph is parallel to y-axis, so it is not possible to determine lambda 0 value for weak electrolyte by graphical method. However, the same can be calculated using Kohlrach's law. For example, equivalent conductance of acetic acid can be calculated using the experimentally determined equivalent conductivity of strong electrolytes HCl, NaCl, and sodium acetate. According to Kohlrach's law, the case of sodium acetate, lambda 0 CH3COO Na, that is equal to lambda 0 CH3COO minus plus lambda 0 Na plus. And in the case of HCl, the equation becomes lambda 0 HCl is equal to lambda 0 H plus lambda 0 Cl minus. And in the case of NaCl, lambda 0 NaCl, that is equal to lambda 0 Na plus lambda 0 Cl minus. Now these equations are denoted as 1, 2, 3, and adding first two equations and subtracting third equations, then we get the right hand side value, that is lambda 0 CH3COO minus plus lambda 0 H plus, that is according to Kohlrach's law, that is lambda 0 of acetic acid. So in this way, from the experimental value of lambda 0 of sodium acetate and lambda 0 of HCl and lambda 0 of NaCl, the lambda 0 of acetic acid is calculated by simply adding lambda 0 of sodium acetate and HCl, and from that subtracting lambda 0 of NaCl, we get the lambda 0 of acetic acid. That is one of the application of Kohlrach's law, that is to calculate equivalent conductance of weak electrolytes at infinite dilution. Another application of Kohlrach's law is calculation of degree of dissociation of weak electrolyte. The symbol for degree of dissociation is alpha, and the equation for degree of dissociation alpha, that is equal to lambda V divided by lambda infinitive. Here lambda V, that is equivalent conductance of the electrolyte at a given dilution, and the lambda infinitive, that is the equivalent conductance of the given electrolyte at infinite dilution, and the lambda infinitive value, that is determined from Kohlrach's law, and by substituting the lambda V value, which is experimentally determined, and lambda infinity value, that is from Kohlrach's law, we can simply calculate the value of alpha by the equation alpha is equal to
lambda V by lambda infinitive, that is otherwise lambda C by lambda 0. Lambda C means that is equivalent conductance at a given concentration C, and lambda 0 means that is the equivalent conductance at 0th concentration. That lambda infinitive and lambda 0 both are same. And lambda infinitive means that is equivalent conductance at infinite dilation, and lambda 0 means that is equivalent conductance at 0th concentration, and both are same. So similarly, lambda V and lambda C, that is also same. Lambda V means that is equivalent conductance at a given dilution, and lambda C means that is a lambda equivalent conductance at a given concentration C. So to calculate degree of dissociation, the Quadrature's law is useful.
Next application of Quadrature's law is calculation of solubility of sparingly soluble salt. The substances like AgCl, AgI, lead sulfate, etc. are sparingly soluble in water, and the solubility of such substances can be determined using conductance measurements. In general, the equivalent conductance of an electrolyte, that is given by the formula lambda is equal to K into 1000 by C. Here lambda, that is the equivalent conductance, and K is specific conductance, and C is the concentration of the solution normality. Now we can change this equation for sparingly soluble salt at infinite dilution. At infinite dilution, this equation becomes lambda infinitive is equal to K into 1000 by solubility in the case of sparingly soluble salt. And from this equation, the solubility of the sparingly soluble salt in water, that is determined by the equation solubility is equal to K into 1000 divided by lambda infinitive. And here the K is the specific conductance of the sparingly soluble salt at infinite dilation, that is determined by experiment, by conductivity experiment. And the lambda infinitive, that is determined from applying Quadrature's law. So by simply substituting K value and lambda infinity value, the solubility of sparingly soluble salt in water, that can be easily calculated. The next application of Quadrature's law is to calculate ionic mobility of cation and anion. Ionic mobility of cation, that is given by the formula lambda 0 plus divided by F. F is the value of 1 Faraday in coulombs. In coulombs, the value is 96,500. By simply substituting lambda 0 plus and the value of 1 Faraday, you can simply calculate the value of ionic mobility of cation. And here the lambda 0 plus, that is determined from by use of Quadrature's law. By make use of Quadrature's law, lambda 0 plus is determined, and by substituting lambda 0 plus and the value of Faraday, we can simply calculate ionic mobility of cation from by the equation lambda 0 plus divided by 96,500. Similarly, ionic mobility of anion is calculated by substituting lambda 0 minus divided by 96,500, and lambda 0 plus and lambda 0 minus, these values are obtained by using Quadrature's law. So by simply substituting ionic conductance in this equation, we can calculate ionic mobility of the ions, cation and the anion. So these are the applications of Quadrature's law. The next topic, Debye-Huckel-Onsager theory for strong electrolytes. Equivalent conductance increases with the dilution in the case of weak electrolytes. That is, in the case of weak electrolytes and dilution, equivalent conductance increases. In the case of weak electrolytes, increase in conductance is due to increase of number of ions by dissociation of weak electrolytes. But in the case of strong electrolytes are completely dissociated even at a moderate concentration. And also in the case of strong electrolytes, the conductance is increased with the dilution. That is not explained by Arrhenius theory. According to Arrhenius theory, the conductance is due to number of ions, which is due to dissociation of the electrolytes. So scientist Debye-Huckel proposed that increase of equivalent conductance with dilution in the case of strong electrolytes is not due to number of ions, but due to speed of ions, due to mobility of, that is mobility of ions. As the dilution increases, the distance between ion will increases and the interionic forces decrease.
and hence the conductance value increases. Debye-Huckel derived an equation to explain the magnitude of interionic force by considering two factors, two effects, which increase the conductance of strong electrolytes. This slide shows two effects which was considered by the scientist Debye-Huckel. What are two effects? One is relaxation effect, that is asymmetric effect otherwise. Another effect is electrophoretic effect. So by considering these two effects, Debye-Huckel derived an equation, and that equation was modified by another scientist, Onsager, and we get the final equation of Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. That is a famous equation to explain the nature of conductance of strong electrolyte at with the dilution. What is relaxation effect? Electrolytes dissociate in solution state to give positive and negative ions, and each ion is surrounded by an ionic atmosphere. That is, positive ion is surrounded by ions of negative charge. It is negative ions, and this ionic atmosphere is spherically symmetrical. That is called ionic atmosphere. When a current is passed through the solution, the central ion, that is positive ion of the ionic atmosphere, moves towards the oppositely charged electrodes, that is positive ions, moves towards cathode. During this movement, ionic atmosphere dies out and it has to rebuild a new ionic atmosphere of opposite charge around it. These two processes do not take place simultaneously. There is some time lag which is called time of relaxation. During this time, new ionic atmosphere pulls the moving ion backward, and so motion of the central ion, that is positive ion, is retarded. Due to this effect, due to this, the process, the effect is called as a relaxation effect. This slide shows the ionic atmosphere of ions, say Na plus and Cl minus. Here Na plus ion is surrounded by Cl minus ion, and applying current, Na plus ion moves towards the cathode, and the negative ion, Cl minus ion, attracts to form the new ionic atmosphere. Due to this, the mobility of Na plus ion is decreased. That effect is called as relaxation effect or asymmetric effect. Another effect is electrophoretic effect. Electrophoretic effect, that is during the application of electromotive force, the central ion, positive ion, move in one direction, and the oppositely charged ions present in the ionic atmosphere move in opposite direction. That is, positive ions move towards cathode, and negative ions move towards anode. And the solvent molecules also there in the ionic atmosphere. It means that the central ion is moving against the stream, hence the movement of the central ion is retarded. This effect is called as electrophoretic effect. That is, due to counter movement of positive and negative ions, the mobility of the ions are decreased. That is called electrophoretic effect. So this slide shows the counter movement of positive and negative ions. Due to the movements, counter movement, and the mobility of the ions are decreased. That effect is called as electrophoretic effect. Here this slide shows the electrophoretic effect illustration. By considering these two effects, that is electrophoretic effect and the asymmetric effect, otherwise relaxation effect, Debye-Huckel scientist first derived an equation. That equation was further modified by, improved by Onsager scientist, and the final equation is called as Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. What is that equation? Lambda is equal to lambda 0 minus 82.4 divided by dt power 1 by 2 eta plus 8.2 into 10 power 5 divided by dt power 3 by 2 lambda 0 whole bracket root c. Here lambda is the equivalent conductance at any concentration, and lambda 0, that is equivalent conductance at infinite dilution, and d, dielectric constant of the medium, and eta, that is the viscosity of the medium, and T, temperature of the solution, and C is the concentration of solution. So the first term in the bracket is due to electrophoretic effect, to explain the counter movement of, due to counter movement of the ions, and the second term is due to, in the bracket, is due to asymmetric effect, that is pile of symmetric atmosphere. So at a given temperature and also for a particular solvent like water, the above equation is reduced to lambda is equal to lambda 0 minus a plus b lambda 0 square bracket root c. So this equation, that is simplified equation of de Backer-Onsager equation, and here lambda, that is equivalent conductance at a given concentration C, and lambda 0, that is equivalent conductance at infinite dilution, and A and B are constants. A is due to electrophoretic effect, B is due to asymmetric effect, and lambda is again lambda 0, that is equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. So these are about Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. This slide shows a problem related with applications of one of the application of Quadrature's law. What is the problem? That is a decinormal solution of NaCl has specific conductivity equal to 0.0092 moles per centimeter if ionic conductance of Na plus and Cl minus are 43 and 65 moles respectively. Calculate the degree of dissociation of NaCl solution. Here the solution of NaCl has the concentration 0.1 n and equivalent conductance of 0.1 n KCl, that is determined by the formula lambda is equal to K into 1000 by normality, and K value is given, that is 0.0092, and the normality of the solution is 0.1. From these values, the specific conductance and normative solutions, one can simply calculate the value of lambda of NaCl, which has concentration 0.1 n, and by the formula lambda is equal to K into 1000 by n, and the answer is 92 moles centimeter square equivalent power minus 1. That is a unit of equivalent conductance, and lambda infinity value, that is according to Quadrature's law, lambda infinity is equal to lambda plus lambda minus, that is ionic conductance of cation plus ionic conductance of anion. Here lambda infinity value, that is equal to lambda Na plus lambda Cl minus. The ionic conductance of Na plus and Cl minus are given, and by simply adding these two values we get the lambda infinity value of NaCl, that is according to Quadrature's law. And the degree of dissociation alpha value, that is lambda V by lambda infinitive, by simply substituting lambda V value and lambda infinitive value. Lambda V means equivalent conductance of 0.1 n NaCl, and lambda infinity means that is equivalent conductance of NaCl at infinite dilution. So by simply substituting 92 and 108 in this equation, we can calculate degree of dissociation, and the value is 0.85, that is otherwise 85%. This slide shows a problem related with the application of Quadrature's law. Here the one of the application of Quadrature's law is to determine equivalent conductance of weak electrolyte at infinite dilution. In this problem, weak electrolyte is propanoic acid, and the problem is equivalent conductance of NaCl, HCl, and sodium propanate at infinite dilution are 126.45, 426.16, and 91 moles centimeter square per gram equivalent respectively. Calculate the equivalent conductance of C2H5COH, propanoic acid. According to Quadrature's law, lambda infinity of propanoic acid, that is equal to lambda infinity value of sodium propanate plus lambda infinity value of HCl minus lambda infinity value of NaCl. So, and by simply substituting lambda infinity value of sodium propanate and HCl and NaCl, you can simply calculate the value of lambda infinity value of propanoic acid. It is by adding lambda infinity value of sodium propanate and HCl, and from that subtracting lambda infinity value of NaCl, and the final answer is lambda infinity of propanoic acid. This slide shows a problem to calculate equivalent conductance and molar conductance of a solution by giving the resistance of the solution. The problem is the resistance of 0.01 n NaCl solution at 25 degrees centigrade is 200 ohms. Cell constant of the conductive cell is unit T, answer 1, unit T means 1, and calculate equivalent conductance and molar conductance of the solution. So conductance of the solution, that is the inverse of resistance, that is 1 divided by 200, that is equal to 0.005 mhos. That is the conductance of the solution. From that, specific conductance of the solution can be calculated using the formula K is equal to C into L by A, where C is the conductance, L by A is the cell constant. So by cell constant value 1 and the conductance value 0.005, that is substituted in this equation, specific conductance of the solution is equal to 0.005 mhos per centimeter. That is specific conductance of 0.01 NaCl solution. And in the case of sodium chloride, the equivalent weight and molecular weight both are same, and so is normality and molarity also same. So lambda that is the equivalent conductance, that is given by the formula K into 1000 divided by normality, and K value is 0.005 mhos per centimeter into 1000 divided by normality of the solution 0.01. That is, the answer is 500 mhos centimeters per equivalent. So that is the equivalent conductance. Since the sodium chloride has both the equivalent and molecular weight are same, so the molar conductance also 500 mhos centimeter square per mole. This slide shows a problem related with the application of Quadrature's law. That is, here weak electrolyte is acetic acid, and here lambda 0, lambda infinite value of sodium acetate, HCl, NaCl are given. And the question is, what is the molar conductivity of acetic acid at 25 degrees centigrade? So by simply substituting these values in the equation, that is lambda 0 of acetic acid, that is equal to lambda 0 of sodium acetate plus lambda 0 of HCl minus lambda 0 of NaCl. That is by simply adding first to 2, 90 and 425, and from these values subtracting 125, we get the lambda 0 of acetic acid, that is given in the next slide. This slide shows the calculation of lambda 0 of acetic acid. Here the molar conductance is given, so the unit is mhos centimeter square per mole. So the equivalent conductance means the unit is mhos centimeter square per equivalent. But if molar conductance, here the problem molar conductance at infinite dilation, that is asked. So the answer is 390.7. The unit is mhos centimeter square per mole. And next topic, the common ion effect. So the common ion effect is nothing but the reduction of degree of dissociation of weak acid or base by the addition of a common ion is called common ion effect. For example, degree of dissociation of acetic acid is depressed by the addition of either sodium acetate or HCl. Similarly, degree of dissociation of ammonium hydroxide is depressed by the addition of ammonium chloride or sodium hydroxide. So the depression of degree of dissociation by adding a common ion, that is called common ion effect. Next topic, ionic mobility. Ionic mobility is defined as the distance traveled by an ion per second under the potential gradient of 1 volt per meter. So the ionic mobility of H plus ion is found to be 5 to 10 times that of other ions except OH minus ion. That is the mobility of H plus and OH minus ion. The ionic mobility of these ions are high. Next topic, Kirchhoff's rule and the Kirchhoff's theoretical device. What is Kirchhoff's rule? That is, the ions are always discharged in equivalent amount at their respective electrode, that is cathode and anode, whatever the relative speeds. So whatever the speed of the ions, number of cations discharged at the cathode and the number of anions discharged at the anode, that the number is same. That is, same number of ions are discharged. That is called Kirchhoff's rule. To explain this rule, Kirchhoff's proposed a theoretical device, that is called Kirchhoff's theoretical device. That is the solution which is present in a beaker with a cathode and a anode, and the solution is separated in 3 compartments theoretically, and the compartment with the cathode, that is called cathode compartment, and the compartment with the anode, that is called anode compartment. So and here there are 4 cases, case 1, 2, 3, 4. In case 1, Roman letter 1, no ions are
moved. That is, no current is passed, no ions are moved, and no ion is moved, and the number of ion discharge is also 0. That is, 0 ion is moved, and the number of ion discharge, that is also 0. The next case number 2, in this case 3 cations are moved and 0 anion is moved, and 3 cations are moved from anode compartment to cathode compartment, and due to the excess of 3 cations, the 3 cations are discharged at the cathode electrode, and no anions is moved from cathode to anode. But in the case of anode, due to movement of 3 cations, 3 anions have no counterpart, so that 3 anions are discharged at the anode. So number of ion discharged at the cathode is 3. Number of anions discharged at the anode is also 3. That is, whatever the speed of the ions, the number of ion discharged at the cathode and the anode, that is same. Here 3 cations are moved and no anions is moved. In case number 3, 2 cations and 2 anions are moved. That is, from starting from case 1, 2 cations are moved from anode to cathode, and 2 anions are moved from cathode to anode. So the total number of ion discharge is 4. That is due to 2 cations from anode compartment and from anode compartment to cathode, and due to movement of 2 anions from cathode to anode, and 2 cations have no counterpart, so the total number of 4 ions, 4 cations are discharged at the cathode. Similarly, 4 anions are discharged at the anode in the case of 3. And in the case 4, starting from case 1, and if 3 cations and 2 anions are moved, 3 cations are moved from anode compartment to cathode, and 2 anions are moved from cathode compartment to anode. So the 3 cations from anode compartment, and due to movement of 2 anions from cathode to anode compartment, 2 cations have no counterpart. So total number of ions, cations discharged at the cathode is 5. Similarly, in the anode, total number of anions discharged is also 5. So total number of ions discharged at both the electrodes, that is cathode and anode, is same whatever the speed of ions. And also the total number of ions discharged is a sum of movement of the ions, sum of cations and anion, sum of speed of ions, cations and anion. This slide shows Kirchhoff's rule, and the explanation of previous slide that is given. Next topic, transport number, otherwise called as transference number, and the symbol for transport number of cation, that is T plus, and the symbol for transport number of anion, that is T minus. Now what is transport number? That is a fraction of current carried by each ion to the total current. That is a fraction of the current carried by the ion to the total current. That is called transport number of the ion. In case of transport number of cation, it is current carried by the cation divided by total current. And transport number of anion, that is given by current carried by the anion divided by total current, that is given by the mobility of ion also. That is a mobility of transport of cation is equal to mobility of cation divided by total mobility of the cation and anion. That is suppose U plus, that is a mobility of cation, and U minus, that is a mobility of anion. Then transport number of cation, that is given by U plus divided by U plus U minus. Similarly, transport number of anion T minus, that is equal to U minus divided by U plus U minus. So the T plus T minus, the total value, that is equal to 1. So by knowing transport of one ion, we can easily calculate transport number of another ion. And also by Kirchhoff theoretical device, it is possible to show that mobility of cation divided by mobility of anion, that is equal to fall of concentration in anode compartment divided by fall of concentration in cathode compartment. Transport number of cation is otherwise written as, that is equal to fall in concentration in anode compartment divided by total fall in concentration in anode and cathode compartment. If you attach silver voltammeter in series, then total fall in concentration is equal to the amount of silver deposited in the voltammeter. So the equation becomes T plus is equal to fall in concentration anode compartment divided by amount of silver deposit in silver voltameter. In this way, we can easily calculate the transport number of cation. That is by analyzing the solution in the anode compartment and by determining the amount of silver deposit in silver voltameter, you can simply calculate the value of T plus, that is fall in concentration in anode compartment, divided by amount of silver deposit in silver voltameter. So by knowing the value of transport number of cation, the transport number of anion is calculated using the formula T minus is equal to 1 minus T plus, because T plus plus T minus transport number of cation plus transport number of anion, that is equal to 1. Next topic is Kirchhoff's method to determine transport number of cation. So the method of Kirchhoff's, this method is based on change in concentration of anodic solution and cathodic solution in the electrolytic cell caused by passage of current through the electrolyte. Due to electrolysis, the movement of ions or movement of cations and anions takes place, and by analyzing these anode solution, cathodic solution, we can simply calculate transport number of cation. So for that, this method, it contains two vertical glass tubes connected by U tube, and the end tube contains anode and cathode, and the tube which contains anode, that is called anode compartment, and the tube which contains cathode, that is called cathode compartment. And to find out transport of Ag plus, transport of NO3 minus, silver nitrate solution is filled in the apparatus. After passing a quantity of current, the anode solution is estimated and the fall in concentration is calculated. And care is taken not to change concentration in the middle compartment. And also if you attach the silver voltameter in series, then total fall in concentration is equal to the amount of silver deposited in the silver voltameter. This slide shows the calculation of transport number of cation on from the experimental cells. There is number of gram equivalent of silver nitrate present anode compartment initially P, and that of final value is Q. And number of gram equivalent weights of silver deposit voltameter is R. And the increase in concentration and due to passage of current, suppose if it is Q minus P, and total fall in concentration anode compartment is equal to R minus Q minus P. And by knowing these values, that is fall in concentration anode compartment and amount of silver deposit silver voltameter, we can calculate the transport number of cation as T plus is equal to R minus Q minus P divided by R. So in this way, we can calculate the transport number of cation. And from that transport number of cation, transport number of anion is calculated using the formula 1 minus transport number of cation. So these are about the calculation parts. Next topic, measurement of transport number by moving boundary method. The experimental setup is as shown in the figure. It contains a vertical tube, glass tube, and which contains the solutions, yellow colored cadmium chloride solutions and HCl solutions. There is a boundary between these two solutions, and cadmium electrode, cadmium rod is present, cadmium chloride solution which acts as the anode, and platinum electrode which is present in HCl solution which acts as a cathode. The other experimental setup is as shown in the figure. There is ammeter, battery, key, rheostat, etc. And after passing Q coulombs of current, due to movement of ions, the boundary AA dash is moved from AA dash to B dash, and the volume between AA dash and B dash, that is V. And by knowing the value of A volume between the boundaries, that is V, and the concentration of solutions and quantity of current passed through the solutions, the transport number of H plus ion is calculated by the formula TH plus is equal to V into C divided by 1000 into Q. There is in the denominator 1000 into Q. So this way we can calculate transport number of H plus ion, and by knowing the transport number of H plus ion, the transport number of Cl minus ion is calculated by the formula transport number of Cl minus is equal to 1 minus transport number of H plus ion. One of the application of conductance measurement is conductometric titration. That is, conductance measurements are frequently employed to find the endpoints of acid, alkali, and other titrations. The principle involved in the conductometry titration is the electrical conductance depends on the number and the mobility of ions. So that is a principle behind the conductometric titration. And one first titration, that is titration between a strong acid and a strong base. Here acid is taken in a beaker with the conductive dissolve, and base is taken the burette, and the conductance of acid solution is determined at equal portion addition of base, that is 0.5 ml or 1 ml portion of base. The conductance are measured, and the conductance of HCl, that is strong acid, that is high due to the presence of H plus ion, and as H plus ion is removed on adding an addition of OH minus as water, the conductance of the solution and decreases uniformly. After the endpoint, there is no H plus ion, so on adding sodium hydroxide, due to increase of OH minus ion, the conductance are increased. So on plotting conductance versus volume of sodium hydroxide, we get two straight lines. So two straight lines, and the point of intersection of these two straight lines gives the endpoint of the titration. Here the reaction is HCl, which is in the form of ionic form H plus and Cl minus, on adding sodium hydroxide, which is also in the ionic form. We get the product NaCl, which is also ionic form, but H plus ion is removed as water. So due to removal of H plus ion, the conductance decreases up to the endpoint. After the endpoint, there is no H plus ion, so on adding sodium hydroxide, due to increase of OH minus ion, which has greater mobility, the conductance increases sharply. So on plotting conductance versus volume of sodium hydroxide, and we get two straight lines, and point of intersection of these two straight lines gives the endpoint. This slide shows nature of conductometer titration graph obtained titration between strong acid HCl and strong base sodium hydroxide. Here conductance is decreased due to removal of H plus ion as water up to the endpoint. After the endpoint, conductance is increased due to increase of OH minus ion concentration. So we get this type of curve in the conductometer titration between strong acid and strong base. Next topic, conductometer titration between weak acid and strong base. Strong base, sodium hydroxide, weak acid, acetic acid. So here acetic acid is taken the beaker, and the sodium hydroxide taken the burette. And on addition of sodium hydroxide, the conductance of acetic acid is slightly increased due to formation of sodium acetate. And sodium acetate formation takes place up to the endpoint. After the endpoint, there is no acetic acid, so I'm adding sodium hydroxide. Due to increase of OH minus ion, which has greater mobility, the conductance of the solution increases sharply. So we get a graph, and nature of graph is shown in the next slide. This slide shows conductometer titration between weak acid and strong base, and here acetic acid is a weak acid, which is the molecular form. So the conductance of acetic acid is low at initial state. On adding sodium hydroxide, due to formation of sodium salt of acetic acid, the conductance is slightly increased up to the endpoint. After the endpoint, there is no acetic acid, so on adding sodium hydroxide, due to increase of OH minus ion, conductance increases. So we get two straight lines, and the point of intersection of these two straight lines gives the endpoint. Next, conductometer titration between mixture of acids and strong base. Mixture of acids, one is strong acid, another one is weak acid. There is mixture of strong and weak acid. And strong acid like HCl, weak acid like acetic acid. And here the mixture is taken in a beaker, and sodium hydroxide is taken in the burette, and the conductance of the solutions is determined at the various at equal portion addition of sodium hydroxide, like 0.5 ml addition or 1 ml addition. And here the conductance, nature of conductance graph is this it's a combination of conductance titration between strong acid and strong base, and weak acid and strong base. So we get three straight lines, First straight line corresponds to neutralization HCl, and second straight line corresponds to neutralization acetic acid, and third straight line is due to increase of conductance due to increase of OH minus ion. The point of intersection of first two straight lines, that is let it be Vx, that is the volume of sodium hydroxide required to neutralize HCl in the mixture. And the point of intersection of second and third straight line, it corresponds to volume of sodium hydroxide required to neutralize both HCl and acetic acid. So Vy minus Vx, that is the volume of sodium hydroxide required to neutralize acetic acid in the mixture. So in this way, we can determine the endpoint of strong acid, mixture of acid versus strong base for strong acid and weak acid. The reaction between strong acid and strong base and weak acid and strong base, that is given in this slide. This slide shows nature of conductum titration graph obtained the titration between mixture of acids and strong base. Here Vx is the volume of sodium hydroxide required to neutralize HCl in the mixture. Vy, that is the volume of sodium hydroxide required to neutralize both HCl and acetic acid in the mixture. And Vy minus Vx, that is the volume of sodium hydroxide required to neutralize only the acetic acid in the mixture. This slide shows once again nature of graph obtained the conductum titration between mixture of strong acid and weak acid and sodium hydroxide. Here first straight line is due to reaction of HCl with the sodium hydroxide. Second straight line is due to reaction of acetic acid with the sodium hydroxide. And after complete neutralization of both HCl and acetic acid, after addition of sodium hydroxide, due to increase of OH minus and the conductance value is increased. So here B is first endpoint and C is the second endpoint. Next titration is conductum titration between weak acid and weak base. Here weak acid is acetic acid, weak base is ammonium hydroxide. Both are weak nature, that is degree of dissociation of acetic acid ammonium hydroxide, that is low. So these species are in molecular form. So initially the acetic acid has low conductance, and adding ammonium hydroxide from burette due to formation of ammonium acetate, which is in the ionic form, the conductance slightly increased, and the slightly increased nature is up to the end point. Afterwards, on adding ammonium hydroxide, no formation of ammonium salt. So due to increase of ammonium hydroxide, and which is in the molecular form, the conductance, there is no change in the conductance after the endpoint. So the nature of the conductum titration graph is shown in the next slide. This slide shows the nature of conductum titration graph obtained between titration between acetic acid and ammonium hydroxide. Here the reaction is given, and the point of intersection of two straight lines gives the endpoint, that is the volume of ammonium hydroxide required to neutralize a particular volume of acetic acid. Next one is precipitation titration, that is titration between silver nitrate and KCl. Here the silver nitrate is taken in beaker and KCl solution is taken in the burette, and the conductance is determined at equal portion addition of KCl from the burette. And here due to addition of KCl, there is no change in the conductance, first due to equal mobility of Ag plus and K plus. So Ag plus and K plus, these two ions have nearly same mobility. So on adding K plus ion, the silver Ag plus ion is replaced by K plus, and there is no change in the conductance up to the end point. After the end point, increase of K plus ion increases the conductance. So the nature of the graph obtained in this titration is shown in the next slide. The nature of conductum titration graph obtained in the titration between KCl and silver nitrate, that is shown in this slide. Here first there is no change in conductance up to the end point. Afterwards conductance is increased due to increase of K plus ion. And here the end point of intersection of these two straight lines gives the end point, that is a volume of KCl required to neutralize a particular volume of silver nitrate. So far we have discussed various conductum titrations like strong acid versus strong base, weak acid versus strong base, mixture of acids versus strong base, and weak acid versus weak base, and precipitation titration like KCl versus silver nitrate. Now, what are the advantages of conductometer titrations? One advantage is colored solutions can be titrated. So here no indicator, no color change. So colored solutions can be titrated. And second advantage, there is very dilute solutions and also very weak acids and bases can be titrated. And third one is no special care is necessary near the endpoint because the endpoint is determined from graph itself. So we need not take care near the endpoint because the endpoint is determined from only from graph. These are the advantages of conductometric titrations. With this, I want to conclude my lecture on electrochemistry. I think this presentation is more useful for third BC students of our college, and during these critical situations, this type of presentation is very useful for students. I wish all the students all success.
I express my sincere thanks to all viewers, and also I want to get positive and negative comments from viewers. That makes me the future lecture in a better way. Once again, I thank one and all. Thank you.